right, but lo and behold, we have our weekly guest on with us today. It's going to be Rami Hamady, and the topic is going to be why utilizing your license in full makes sense. So let's see. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Rami, do I have you with me?
Yes, you do.
All right, perfect. Rami, how are you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely amazing, as you know, because we live together. But with that being said, Rami, for those people that don't know you that are on the call, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you were doing before FFL, and kind of what got you involved in the business and why you chose to stay here.
Yeah, so for the guys that know my story, I'll go kind of quick. So I'm from Boston, guys. Lived here for most of my life. Went overseas to Lebanon for a little bit, and I came back. I went to medical school, medical field. Lived in the healthcare industry. Then I reconnected with Marisa. I've known Marisa and Christina for quite some time now. And then when I first came back into the United States, I reconnected. Oh, I came back to the United States, met Marisa. We dated back in the day. For you guys who don't know, for a long, long time ago, about 15 years back. Reconnected 4 years ago. Our anniversary is coming actually on 3/31. So I'll tell Marisa, of course, happy anniversary to her soon. But then, guys, when I met Marisa, that point I saw she had her insurance agency, her and Christina. Now I didn't really know what it was by any means. I asked so many questions, like most of you all do on the call when you first join. Is it real? Is the money legit? Is it a scam? XYZ. It turned out no, guys. Like all of us here today, we understand what business we're in. The financial services does produce most millionaires. It's definitely a vehicle where you can control your own time, no cap on income. So those factors alone made me realize, you know what? Let me try this. Let me enter part-time. When I came into business part-time, guys, let me tell you that I've had no sales experience whatsoever. I do talk very fast. That's one thing you could probably say about me. But outside of that, I don't really have much sales experience. What I did realize though is again, at Fan First Life selling insurance is very similar to the hospital, where I'm able to basically take bedside manner, apply it in the home or else face to face and now over the phone, and explain a concept, guys, where basically, if the family needs help, they have a problem and I can present the solution, right? And that's all we do. We're problem solvers in the day. We're a broker, insurance sales, but we solve problems. You want to make sure that in the event that somebody, becomes sick or passes, we're able to help them in life. So that's my story, guys. I ended up coming on board back in July 2021 part-time. I went full-time in 2022 through both every time in the industry, every year for Hall of Fame. That's just not to boast my tail, but to say that everyone can do it. All I do is follow the system, and I'll get to of how I was able to do that every year, not only selling life insurance, like as we call death insurance, as Maurice is indicating, by utilizing my full license, whether it be whichever aspect, health, wealth, life, etc.
Absolutely. And Rami, thanks for that introduction for those that don't know you. And talk to us a little bit about the basic fundamentals before we do like a deeper dive. Like, talk to us a little bit about, even Rami, if you could take us back real quick to when you were part time, because I'm sure there's a bunch of people on this call that are part time, right? And they hear you saying, well, I went full time. How committed were you to your schedule then versus how committed are you to it now? Is it the same level of commitment, just different hours? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm always me, guys, personally for myself. I always commit to anything I do. So my schedule I've always been committed to. In the hospital, guys, will W2W have to work, right? If I don't, I'm getting fired, correct? So when I came into business, guys, I still had that mindset, right? That I wake up at 7 a.m., I get to the hospital at 3:30. When I got to the hospital, I would leave, come back home, and then I would work from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m., trying to at least set my schedule for the next day or continue to get my reps in so I can expedite my learning curve. Now, from part-time to full-time, I realized that, you need a schedule, right? It doesn't matter if you're working 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week. Those blocks need to be scheduled. So if you are coming in part-time like myself, what I did is, guys, there's something called your face-to-face or in the field schedule where you call Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You call Thursday for Friday, Saturday. What I did was I kind of took my day off as like my, let's say, field or run day. So what I would do is the day, let's say on Monday I worked, I came out, guys, and I called for Tuesday. If Tuesday I had an off day, I worked all Tuesday in the field going face to face. Let's say that I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday my off day. I would do the same thing. Monday I get back home, guys, at 4 p.m., call and go in the field Tuesday, Wednesday in the evening. Thursday, if I had that day off, I would take the full day and treat it like a regular schedule. 8 a.m. on the phones to my afternoon break, take my lunch break, get my calls in, get my education. And guys, learning is always important as well. We'll touch on that. But then, of course, getting back on the phones. Now that's schedule, guys, to a full-time schedule. The only difference is it becomes, very intentional and it's not 24/7, but it is. Whereas every day I'm still on the phones. Now I still guys call Monday for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. A lot of you may think like, okay, he's doing telesales and he only calls on Mondays and Thursdays. I work mortgage protection, guys. I work a very elite type that's appointment driven. I do not want call close. So the way I just set my appointments and how I've been trained in my script is to set the appointment. So that's all I did, guys. I translated that into full time and it was the same schedule. But I realized, just because I had the time to make the phone calls doesn't mean that, I was doing it as a new agent. I had to actually put in my brain that, income producing activity during income producing hours, which means not picking up the cell phone and scrolling through Instagram even if I made 10 appointments, right? Continuously understanding that I needed to have more activity to hit Hall of Fame. Now, as a new agent, I'll tell everybody coming part-time to full-time, take your W-2 schedule and the same intentionality you have behind it, where you know you're going to be fired if you're late, or where you know you'll be docked. You're not going to make as much money if you don't work as many hours, where all of you push for overtime in that kind of situation. Apply that same mindset here. That's what I did. I carried a W-2 mindset into this business as a self-employed entrepreneur. Because as every big business owner on this call, they all have a schedule, guys. They stick to it. So the main fundamentals, guys, would be again, sticking to your schedule, making sure you're allocating time to dial and allocating time to contact those appointments or contact those presentations to hit your metrics. I know that'd be a long-winded answer, but my schedule stayed the same. But the only difference was I was more intentional about it. Now, if I'm not in the hospital working 7 to 3, I was on the phones in the office dialing from 7 to 3. The only thing that changed, guys, was how much time I had to dial and how many people I was helping. And that's why my numbers from part-time to full-time just grew because I didn't change anything. I just put in more activity, more work, and I purchased more leads. Lead flow is cash flow. And just like Jesse said, people do think their own boss are acting like the worst employee. 100%. You have to become the best employee to become the best business owner. I agree with that 10,000%.
Awesome. And Rami, like you hit on this too, like in terms of your lead type, you predominantly work mortgage protection, but is it fair to say you also have some veteran leads in there? You got a little bit of
Yeah,
this, a little bit of that, but
70,
predominantly
30.
mortgage. All
Yeah, I'll
right,
say
cool.
70,
Just
30,
before
full
we hit this
transparency.
off, beautiful. Before we hit this off, I just want you guys to be on the same page. If you're upline or you're not setting appointments, it might not be that you have a lead type that you should be setting appointments. If you're winning, keep winning. If you're not winning, make adjustments. But if it's your first week, realize it's your first week and that's okay. But with that being said, Rami, when you joined the business, how did you look at your life insurance license? What did that mean to you?
So, guys, like everyone, I looked at life insurance as death insurance, right? I didn't know what it had in it. All I thought was, someone dies, someone gets paid, right? Like most of us. When I took the test, whole life, term life, like all of us, I just passed it so I could get my certification as fast as possible. But it's all I really, knew. Now, as I kind of, evolved in this business, I'm starting to understand that it's not only about just selling somebody a policy to cover death. It's actually much, much more deeper than that, guys. And what I realize is, and especially to utilize my insurance license to the best of my ability, as you can tell, I kind of like talking about health a lot. I'll focus again on the medical side, living benefits, guys. That's one thing that kind of really stuck out to me right in the beginning. It's because at first I looked at, like Marisa said, like, well, how do I look at it? Just an ability to sell life insurance, right? Death insurance. But now I've realized that no, it's about, disability, becoming sick, loss of income. What happens if that family isn't dead? What if they're young? Right, guys, let's use common sense here. If I'm an 18-year-old male or 23-year-old male, do I have the potential of dying? Yes. And God strike me down if that ever happens to anyone that young. But my main point in saying that is you're either going to, become sick, die to that sickness, or die due to an accidental death. When you're talking to an 18-year-old, we have that invincibility complex where, we don't think we're going to die, but we're all going to get sick. We all need extra income for retirement. So I had to realize that, it's not about the insurance license. It's funny, I told Marisa this when we buy our E&O insurance, guys, I didn't know we could do anything until Marie said, "Hey, go buy your E&O." I was like, "Okay." I look at it, it says option B. She's like, "Buy the one that says annuities on it." Guys, I had no idea I could sell annuities. I didn't know what that was. I was like, "All right, life insurance, great." But now thinking back to it, guys, we have much more vehicles, IULs, we have, annuities. There's other vehicles, term, whole life, universal. So my main point, and that was a long way to answer again, but I only looked at it as death insurance. And we'll talk about how I started looking at it as a different way to look at, again, retirement planning, helping sickness. If people have benefits at work and they end up being sick and they lose that benefit, how can I help them replace it? Not the life insurance side, but their actual, critical, chronic, terminal and retirement, 401ks. When someone passes, they don't look at the 401k and say, I'm going to take this and pay off, all my son's debt, pay off all my husband's debt. It's their retirement income, right? So we have to understand that our license is more than just protecting death. It's protecting financial future. It's protecting sickness. And that's how I started to look at the license.
Awesome. So, over time here, being at Family First Life, how did you learn how to touch on each of those aspects, within your sales process? Like, how did you learn to touch on, making sure final expenses were covered? Do they need a term policy? Is an IUL appropriate here? Would an FIA be appropriate? How did you learn, essentially how to handle that or manage that during your sales process?
So, guys, the first thing I did is I made my environment a rolling university, and I really mean that, guys. So I continuously read on things, whether it be annuity, IULs, term, just to understand, the product we're selling, not as in like Mutual's IUL or America's IUL, but what does an IUL do? It's permanent life insurance that can build tax-deferred value where somebody can take a tax-free policy loan that can act as a supplemental income for retirement, right? Well, the main thing is, guys, if you don't make your car that rolling university or your environment, it's going to be very hard to ask the questions and then answer the questions they're going to give you. So first thing, guys, is educate yourself with the boot camp, right? IUL boot camps, annuity boot camp, SRS training call, guys, your upline. There's tons of people on this call today who are great at advanced market, and all you have to do is reach out, ask a few questions, and that's what I would do, guys. I would always reach out and just ask a couple questions here, a couple questions there, so I understood things a little bit more. But now when it came down to my sales process, guys, it's very simple. I use something called the financial inventory. I'm sure you guys have it on the national website, Success Zone. We have it on the Solidity website. Just get your financial inventory. On it, it should always ask two main questions. What do you have that acts as life insurance? Or if you're doing a mortgage like me, what do you have that can offset the cost of your mortgage? Those two golden questions alone will open the door for, okay, if I ask Marisa, what do you have today that acts as life insurance?
I have a 401k.
Okay. Now, do you know how 401k works? And has your employer ever explained like what that is composed of, what it actually does?
Not really, no. I mean, it's
Okay,
my
so
retirement plan.
correct. And guys, that's literally what most families say. No exaggeration. They say, I just serve my retirement. And that's just something for retirement. They match me. So because the 401k, not to go down the rabbit hole, is just stocks, bonds, mutual REITs, stuff like that, right? That's all together. Now, if you tell that person, if you were to become sick, did your employer design that 401k to pay off your cancer treatment? To make sure that you're able to, replace income if you had a heart attack and lost 25 years ahead of you of work? They always say no, it's meant for retirement, just like Marisa said. So what I would do is I explain to them that first and foremost, a 401k is not the solution to your problem because a 401k is a probatable asset, guys. It can be probated, which means that long story short, it gets stuck in court if they need, if it can. Secondary to that, it's meant for their future. So now I'd ask Marie, so okay, 401k, what do you have today, where God forbid, you became sick with a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, and you paid a monthly payment of $200 or $300, and they would pay you $200,000 or $500,000. What do you have today they'll do that for you?
I don't.
Okay. Do you have any bank, today where God forbid you became sick with a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, and you pay that monthly payment, and they're going to give you that lump sum payment?
There's not one.
Exactly, guys. And that's true, guys. No bank is like that. If any client ever said there is, I say, tell me that bank. I'll call all my clients and my family included, and we'll go sign up for it, right? But in reality, living benefits, guys, the living benefit covers that instance where if somebody does become sick, let their retirement income stay their income, let the insurance company's money pay their bills for them. That's the biggest thing, guys. The second thing is you can always, ask them a very direct question about what do you have that avoids market loss. These are many different ways, guys, you can touch on an appointment, even a final expense appointment. I'm sure there are a lot of you on this call today where literally that you probably have a client that you sold a 50, $80 a month whole life policy to cover their burial. But if you ask the golden question, what do you have in savings? What do you have to actually retirement? What are you using for retirement? Guys, I had someone recently tell me they're like 300K sitting around in an idle 401k and it's just sitting there and they're on a fixed income. I'm like, you're not drawing upon it? It's like, no, I don't know what to do with it. Now, someone like, that answer right there is like, wait, so you're stressed about life insurance. You're stressed about, making sure your wife's gonna be okay. You have $300,000 sitting in an idle 401k that's still losing money to the market. It's going up and down. Now, why don't we take that and move it to an annuity where it becomes life insurance upon death? It's going to gain the same gain. You're not touching it. You're never going to see it. You don't need it right now, as you're telling me. Like, well, they kind of need it because they have low income, but they're not touching it. What I say, guys, is if I have low income and I have 100K in my saving account and it's been there for 10 years, it's going to stay there for 10 years. they're not using it, right? That means it's there for a reason. That's their kind of gift to their family per se. And you guys want to start looking at it that way. Don't judge people by income. Don't stereotype any case you're sitting down with. Always ask those questions because again, that lady had that 401k and then now she's going to end up move it. She's going to roll it. And now if she passes, guys, it becomes life insurance. And now we don't think that way. We think of just whole life. Like, let me give you this small whole life policy. What if they can't qualify? What if they're sick, guys? Utilize your full insurance license and say, hey, do you understand that you can take 10K, 15, 20K, move it to an annuity? If it's just sitting there, it'll become more money and at least become tax-free upon death. And guys, there are a lot more bells and whistles to these things when you actually look into them. But if you just utilize that basic concept, just think about it, right? Like you can literally help every family you sit with. There's not one person that, cannot be qualified because there's no health question when it comes to annuities, correct? Zero, just financial suitability. And most of the time, as long as they don't steal that money, not evading taxes, they're able to get the annuity rolled over. And that's the biggest concern, guys, for most families is like Jesse always says, how much of that money are you willing to lose? The
Absolutely. And I
truth is,
think that
guys,
one
none.
one thing you hit on too, Rami, real quick is the judgment piece, right? We used to be in people's homes, guys. So we were face to face, like wherever you live, it's almost like by default, like you were judged, and in a way we were being judged too, right? Like everyone you meet somebody, you have, they say what, 5 to 7 seconds to make your first impression. Now, when we used to walk into some homes, Rami, correct me if I'm wrong, you might stereotype the homeowner and be like, oh, they live in the middle of Boston, in not the nice part of Boston. So like they probably have no money, right? Like,
Yeah,
have you found that that wasn't true as you started utilizing, these
inventory.
different questions that you're asking within the inventory and actually following up on them?
Of course, guys. Yeah, 100%. Like I've realized, guys, that every family is different, and you'd be surprised. The people who have the most money act like they have the least money. It's kind of crazy to see. They literally act like they have no money at all because, in my assumption, it's my opinion. It's not truth. It's my opinion. They're testing you. They want to truly see, do you know what you're talking about first and foremost? Are you really able to help them? And not more than the basic person that can call online and get an easy quote and purchase insurance that here's term life and get it taken care of is further than that. They want to make sure you can truly service their family. Like there are multiple quadrants, right? I know that at FFL, the main quadrants are basically going to be IULs and annuities, right? Mortgage protection, final expense, and referrals slash and reviews. Now, if you guys can master those four quadrants, whether that be the IULs for retirement and annuities, mortgage protection, final expense as a concept, and mortgage insurance, those are both concepts, right? A universal life can be a whole life, but can be a permanent coverage, use your final expense. A whole life policy can be used as equity rescue for a mortgage protection. It all depends on the concept. And then annual referrals and annual reviews. If you guys are able to truly, in Medicare, I don't do healthcare, so I'm not going to talk too much on Medicare, but if you guys understand the healthcare industry and you know Medicaid, Medicare, Manhattan Life, there are ways, guys, you're able to, help somebody service them with the proper insurance supplemental for like their I'm not sure like how we're healthcare, but then cross-sell them into IUL because they're self-entrepreneur people who have no benefit at work. Now, let's say I'm talking to a mortgage person and they're self-employed and they have no health benefit, but I have my health license at the same time. Now, life and health pretty much guys are the same thing now. I think when I took the test, they were separate. Now it's like they're
They're
pretty
still
much all
separate.
together. Are they? Okay, for most of them, though, I look at them as life and health. But let's say you have both life and health, like most agents do. You guys are able to still utilize them and cross sell. Let's say you just have a life. You can look at them and use a living benefit as a supplement to income for a critical, chronic, or catastrophic illness policy. Because a lot of those policies, they have stipulations in it. A long-term care policies only get to a certain age and it pays a monthly stipend. And if you get someone that's in a really sick situation, they qualify the same way, they can take a living benefit from a death benefit to cover those bills. Now, let's say again, we go back into that same retirement concept with a mortgage person. Let's say they don't want the insurance. They say they're all taken care of. We don't care about the mortgage. We want to make sure that, it's too expensive. I'm able to explain to them an IUL for retirement. So, guys, using your life insurance license is not only, again, finding a program that they can qualify for, but it's finding the best suited program or solving the full puzzle, right? It's making sure that they have, again, the final expense portion taken care of. It's making sure that they have the estate protection focus understood. And they understand that, okay, once you have these key blocks taken care of, someone has to die and get buried. Then they have to make sure their estate can pass probate. Now, at this point, let's leverage your legacy. Let's give you extra income toward retirement. So if you guys can just kind of start looking at these the prospects, and it's not just through that one lens of final expense, or mortgage protection and look at them all the same, I'm sure a lot of you are going to have, final expense clients you can write an IUL with for retirement or annuity, and vice versa. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, it did. It did. And Rami, like, a lot of people I think on the call right now are like, okay, this is all great and everything, but like, I don't know how to do that, right? Like, I don't know how to do the things that he's talking about. I know how to write my term policies. I know how to write my whole life policies. I feel good about that. I can write my Americo Ego. We love Americo, but like, I don't know what he's talking about. I lost him 10 minutes ago. Now, what are some of the things that you did in learning these more like, simple retirement solutions, like in terms of IULs? Like, one thing when I came into the industry that was huge, guys, we had paper applications. And I'm going to just bring y'all back for a minute just to paint a picture, okay? Because right now, I think we don't utilize our resources. And I think that that's honestly a big problem, like not only in the insurance industry, but like in society. Like after the pandemic, it's like everybody just shut down. It's like we just assume like there's not carrier representatives that want to help us. We assume that at CVS we're going to wait in line for 30 minutes. Like we're making these assumptions that are not always correct, right? So I know for me, Rami, one of the big things for me to understand the product and to trust that and to be able to relay it to my client in a way that made sense and in a way that they trusted me. Because above everything, right, your client needs to trust you guys. If your client doesn't trust you, like you might write the whole life policy, but like you're not rolling money, you're not helping them with a heavy funded IUL, you're not rolling an annuity, like it's just not going to happen. They don't trust you, they don't like you. With that being said, be more likable, and reasons that people can trust you is through knowledge, guys. So one of the things that I used to do, and I still do till this day, is there's so many people we can reach out to within the company, which is awesome, guys. But at the same time, we can't expect everybody to have the answer. But who does have the answer? If you want to know what the Athene Performance Pro does, there's not a better person to call than Athene. There's sales representatives that are literally sitting there manning the phone to answer your questions. Athene, NLG, F&G, the list goes on. Guys, they have representatives that literally sit there, and their job is to help you as a sales representative better understand the situation that's in front of you and help deem fit if that product is good for them or not. So when in doubt, the SRS team is there, your team is there, like we're all here for you. But at the same time, you have to do some of your own research. It's almost like now when agents call me, I think back to 5 years ago, what would Sean have told me? He would have told me to call the carrier. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and because there's really not a better answer. So Rami, what are some of the things you talked about continuing to learn? You talked about the inventory. You talked about calling the carriers we just talked about. Now, also the judgment piece. Now, talk to us a little bit about like what other things you utilize to get better in this area, because your first, half a year, if you will, in the industry, and correct me if I'm wrong, your first year and a half in the industry, this is not a knock. You didn't do SRS products. You were just kind of like whole life, term life, and you were crushing it, hitting Hall of Fame. But what made you be like, hey, I should really open my eyes to like what NLG is doing, what F&G is doing, like what's going on with Athene over there? Like, what did you utilize to open your eyes?
So in the beginning, or as I mentioned prior, I would always, again, keep my card rolling university. I would continue to always be a student in the game. I would always, like I told you, like look into these things, look into the products, guys, and understanding. Like Marisa said, call the carriers is pretty direct. And just most importantly, in order to stay in front of the game, you have to understand what the client needs. It's not about what I need to know. It's not about what I care about. Do I care about the new product that come out? Do I care about, the IULs? No. Do I care that America dropped one? No. What I care about is that if my client needs a lower cost policy compared to a CB100 and they want to, have something that can act the same way, I'll utilize it. How do I learn it, guys? Again, by hopping on the calls, by going to webinars, just by educating myself and learning about it. We all can do it. It's not hard. Just not many people go the extra mile and do past dialing. They'll make phone calls. They'll call the leads. That's all they'll do. They'll make their sales. And after that, they'll stop. They'll call their upline. They expect their upline to know everything. Now, it's great. Definitely contact your upline. Definitely keep that constant communication. But you need to become self-sufficient in this business to get to different levels. And all I did, guys, was become a student of the game. It's not that hard. In the beginning, I actually did write IULs, guys. It's actually kind of funny. Looking back, one of my first three cases, I wrote an IO on Mutual of Omaha when they have to do the WinFlex illustration. We have to actually write it, get it wet signed, and go and upload it before they actually add it as like an illustration in there. And when doing so, guys, that really showed me like, hey, these policies can actually, they perform not too bad when compared to the bank. And all I do is I'm very income-based driven. So I always look at things and how can you provide more income to the household? What can benefit that family? And then actually, guys, to be very funny, what made me really look into was a client. He had like a North American policy and he just wanted to know how many IULs could I have. At this point, I didn't know too much about it. I contacted the AMS team, which is now the Simple Retirement Solution team. I reached out and I said, hey, what do I do with this case? He has this policy. He wants it to mimic it. What do I do? They reached out to me and told me exactly what to do. Ever since then, guys, I kind of memorized it. It's once you write one, you can do a second one. National Life Group, structured IUL is very, it's not complicated. Jesse can say, he's done it many times. A lot of you on this call have done it, Depot. There, all you have to do is understand the client's needs. Once you understand the client's needs, the software does it itself, right? It's like having a TI-83 calculator. But once you understand how to use that thing, that's it. You can do trigonometry, you can do all the math on it. And that is the NLG's illustration software, right? That's that TI-83 calculator. Same thing when it comes down to FNG. And reach out to the carrier reps guys as well. Not only the carriers, the reps out there, like I knew Devin Martin, guys, before he actually became the rep, just for me reaching out to him consistently at National Life Group and asking him, how do I do these illustrations? How do I do this? He responds on the T. Now, guys, he's our actual full-time rep, but he wasn't 3 years ago. He was just a normal, new business person in there. So, guys, reach out to the reps, continuously get to know them. Andrew Orthid Forsters, he's helped me tremendously issue a lot of business and understand the products. So, right. So that's basically the Justice Con made me laugh. So, guys, that's what I did. I just became a student. I continuously learned. I continuously asked questions, and I'm not afraid. Marisa would say opposite. She'll say I'm a know-it-all. I like to say, guys, I know a lot about a little bit. Okay, I know a little bit about a lot. That's my key saying I like to say. But I really do believe that once I master one concept, I'm pretty good at, sticking it and understanding it. It's all it takes, guys. Maybe some of you repetition. Just rinse, wash, repeat. It's okay if you lose a sale, guys, one time because you're practicing. You're gonna get better. You're gonna know how to handle that situation. And all I did was read, hop on the calls, guys, reach out to the carriers, reach out to my uplines, Marisa and Christina, and I always just continued to ask when I did not know the answer. And I didn't, be afraid to not know the answer. I had no shame in it, no guilt, because if I don't know the answer, guys, how can I help that client? If I have another situation, it's going to happen again. I think I said this before on this call. There was a guy in Newton here in Mass where he wanted me to help him. And this is before I knew we had policies that can go to a larger number. I just was stacking Moo, Foresters, Americo to get to, $2 million of term insurance. He looked at me and said, I want you to sharpen your pencil and come back around when you do. And when he told me that, at first I got pissed off. I was like, this guy told me to go sharpen my pencil inside the face-to-face guys. Like imagine not on the phone, like I'm in this guy's living room and he's looking at me and he's saying, hey, why don't you go sharpen your pencil and come back to me? I can't just hang up on him. I looked down, I was like, he's right. He's telling me the truth. He's like, listen, you're trying to help me and I want you to help me, but you don't know everything yet. So I took that as a learning lesson. And again, guys, I know I'm being redundant, but in this business, it's called the copycat business for a reason. Find one person who's selling a shit ton of annuities, find that one person running a lot of life business, find the one person running a lot of IUL business, and just ask, hey, can I shadow you? Hey, can I watch your business a little bit? Can I see what you say? Can you send me your script? And all you guys got to do is find that copycat and become the best copycat. Hope that
Absolutely.
makes
And for new
sense.
agents on the call that are maybe looking to sharpen their pencil, as that guy Gary, I believe his name was, once told you a long time ago in the home, um, what are some things that they should do to utilize or implement? What would your advice be to a new agent that's maybe in their first 90 days on this call right now and hasn't written an IUL or an annuity?
Ask the golden question. Ask, are you scared of losing money? Where do you save your money? What do you have that avoids market loss? And what do you have that avoids probate? And guys, educate yourself on probate. There are only a few states that have a TOD, a transfer on deed or a transfer on death. Outside of that, does not have a transfer of deed. You need a will to avoid probate or it can be contested. So all I would say, guys, is ask those golden questions. Say, what do you have to active life insurance? What do you have that can offset the cost of the mortgage? What do you have future retirement? Are you a spender or a saver? That way you kind of know where they are. If they save money, say, where do you save it? I had a guy literally yesterday, he's doing a 529. I explained to them what, what that indicates of like, if you don't use it for school, it can be tax, XYZ. I explained it in IUL, but all I asked them is, where do you save money for your kids for college? And when he said, I have a 529, I said, you know what an IUL is. So guys, ask those questions with every single person you sit being a new agent. And don't be scared to, because the second you sit with that one person and they tell you, I have $500,000 sitting in this idle saving account or 401k, I don't know what to do with it. You call the AMS team, the SRS team, talk to Frankie, Dean, Jesse, all the big hitters on this call. You ask them, say, hey, what do I do with this? Of course, they're going to help you guys. There may be a commission split in the beginning, guys, but after that, guys, you're going to know what to do and take it as a learning moment. Don't just say, hey, here's my business, Marisa. Go ahead and write it and fill this bottle of water for me
That's
on the
right.
juggler. No, I'm going to actually see her get up, go fill it, see how she filled it, the manner. And this analogy, guys, the main thing is understand what they're doing, see what the questions they're asking, write them down, study them, and apply it to your next appointment. Keep on doing it over and over and over until all of a sudden you sound like them. That's what I would say, guys. And definitely, guys, if you have not done the Iowa boot camp yet or the annuity boot camp, you're missing out. Like you're failing, you're missing out. I'm not trying to sound like an asshole, but you guys are definitely not doing what's needed to get where it is. Because if all of you are confused about what I'm talking about, go on the boot camp. It's going to explain everything the way I learned it. I didn't learn anything else separately. All I do is do the boot camp, guys. So definitely make sure, guys, to become a student of the game. Make sure that you're not afraid to reach up and out. Like Marissa has always instilled in me, like, do not be afraid to reach out to people who are doing it better or your upline because they all want to see us win, guys. And even people on this call who have no monetary gain off me, help me every single day. On the dial team, guys, I get help every day. Last time I had Jesse tell me, hey, send me how I can structure this illustration where I had no idea you can do like a 10-year program and it's like a reverse pension. I had no idea. Just she showed me, I'm like, okay, I learned. Now my last client, guys, I have a $600,000 TSP. She's surrendering, putting half of it into an IUL so it can grow over 5, 7 years. It's a backward pension. The other half is going into annuity. But without that training that just to help me, I would have no idea that I actually could structure it over a 10-year on the mech, well, to almost the mech, and she gets the same result like her TSP. So guys, again, I know I'm saying the things over and over, but that's all I do. Like I'm not special. No one here is special. The only difference is that I was not afraid to reach out. I'm not afraid to say that, hey, I don't know this question. And I actually like learning. So I'd implore all of you guys to continue to educate yourselves and don't be afraid to advocate for your client. If the client tells you, no, I'm the best spot possible, you explain to him, like, hey, you're losing money in this market. Pull up an illustration, ask the SRS team, and show it to the client. Numbers don't lie, guys, right? And when they see numbers, it makes it much easier to explain to a client. But I would not know any of this. I didn't do the boot camps, didn't hop on the calls, I didn't reach out to the people who were actually doing it.
Absolutely. And then one other thing I do want to hit on there, because typically, in that financial inventory where we're asking that golden question, let's just say that we get really excited and somebody's like, oh, I have $1 million in my savings account. I don't really know what to do with it. Okay. You're not going to get that every single day, but do you stop there and you're in a mortgage appointment? Or are you just going to kind of know that that's there and move on and wrap your appointment up and maybe revisit that savings account?
Always revisit, guys. Never confuse the client. Make everything simple. In the beginning, I tried to and give you an analogy, master your lane, master your quadrant. So if you're selling veteran final expense, master selling veteran final expense, you're writing 50, 60K a month, 40K a month, 40 families, 50 families, etc. If you're doing the same thing for any lead type, master it. But let's say in that situation where I'm talking to Marisa and she says, hey, I have a saving account, 100K. I have a couple CDs that are maturing this year and I have a 401k that's idle and has $1 million, guys. I'm not going to, sit there and all of a sudden get like licking my chops, say, oh my God, look what the potential. No, I'm going to go back to the need of I'm here to help you protect your mortgage. I'm here to make sure that if you guys become sick, you're able to replace income upon income loss. Here to make sure your house can actually become a true asset and pass debt free and have to not go to any probate. And after I help them with their situation, after I do the foundation block of solving the problem that I called them about, the problem they sent in, and what we talked about during the role and purpose, during the inventory. I will come back to that at the very, very end after I sold all of my information. And what I first will do is I'll plant the seed, as Marisa said, do breadcrumbs. I would say, okay, wouldn't it be really cool, Marisa, if you didn't lose any of that money in the 401k? Imagine buying Apple at $1, and every time it went to $100, you locked in at $100. Anytime it dropped less than 100, you can never lose what you've gained. Wouldn't that be really cool to have that kind of stock?
Yeah, it would.
Right, I know there's something called future income planning. We'll talk about that at a later point in time. Let's focus on the mortgage, guys. But we'll set up a follow-up meeting as I do help families with their future retirement planning. But again, let's go back to the mortgage. Do you have any other savings put in place, Marisa?
No, that's it.
All right, perfect. Now last, I'm going to talk about your income and health to see what you qualify for regarding the mortgage protection. That's what I do, guys. I just touch on it briefly. I kind of plant the seed so you understand there is a possibility to avoid market loss, that I do handle this, but I'm going to help you with the mortgage and I go right back into my presentation. I collect income, I go over their medications, I help them with the insurance policy, and then at the very, very end, I'll collect that referral or like basically for the annuity. I'll say, okay, now what day this week is good for you guys to set up a follow-up meeting? And I do the follow-up meeting, and that's when I'll focus on them because the one thing you don't want to do is do paralysis by analysis. You do not want to overload the client. I'll tell you this, guys. You can see how fast I can talk. Imagine when I'm sitting down with a client and I got 8 appointments ahead of me. I'm gonna talk fast. I had to realize to kind of slow myself down and, love the one you're with, handle what you got to handle first, and then always, revisit the conversation. That's your client for life. Like I said, guys, the whole puzzle. I can help you with the mortgage, and now you're feeling comfortable if you died tonight or got sick. Your wife is never gonna look at her coffee cup and think, how do I pay my bills? How do I handle my mortgage? And how do I maintain my lifestyle? Now, on the other opposite spectrum, she now knows that when he does pass, not only is their house taken care of and the insurance policy can pay that off, now all their income they were saving for their retirement planning is not going to have any market loss. It will build tax deferred gains and they're able to take that out in the future when they need to. And God forbid they were to pass away, it becomes a tax-free benefit, guys. And that's the most important thing is that a 401k and IRAs, they don't do that, right? They get taxed ordinary income the whole nine. So that's how I handle that appointment. I know it was a long-winded answer, Marisa, but that's how I handle it.
Yeah, and actually, so let's say we have a question. Brandon asked, how long is your average appointment?
To be very honest, like an hour and 15 minutes. I'll be honest, I'll probably like an hour and 15. That's for me.
Oh,
I do mortgage, guys. Again, I'm very thorough with my appointments. I like to make sure that they really need it. If they don't need it, I'm going on. So if they need it and I'm selling them an hour 15. If they don't need it and it's 30 minutes, I'll be off the phone 30 minutes. I'll figure out if they need it real quick.
yeah, I would say you're usually off the phone like five. You know when they don't need it, Rami. You know when they don't need it. And then
Yes, sometimes.
last question that I got for you would be annual reviews. Like as we become new agents, guys, whether you just started today, you started, 3 years ago, or whatever. You're building a book of business, right? Whether you think you are or you think you're not, you are building a book of business. If you have one client, you have a book of business. Congratulations. You're going to be able to grow off of that book of business. Now, with that being said, Rami, how do you handle, some of those older clients that maybe you weren't able to have that conversation with? Maybe they just weren't in a financial space to have that conversation, but we all grow financially. So talk to us a little bit about how you handle annual reviews and how you can kind of integrate some of this when you're reviewing your clients' coverage.
Of course. So, guys, everybody should be putting down their calendar every time you make an insurance sale. You should always be documenting it first and foremost, right? You should know like the day they got it, the effective date. You should know on, what kind of policy it is, right? We all have a client tracker. Most importantly, what I do is recently I've realized if we all go into the IP report, there's a big button on the top right. It's the book of business. If you download it, guys, it's going to show you all of your book of businesses from all the companies. What I do is I look at the date, when the effective date was, and every 6 months I do an annual review, a 6 month review, and then a month, 12 months. What I do in the first 6 months, I make sure that everything's on the books, beneficiary changes, coverage amount, is everything good, right? Month 12, I call back again. And then at this point in time, it depends on month six who they are. I will revisit the inventory that I had saved where I know what the client is. I have like a note on my phone for every client, if it's a mortgage or vet. And I ask them, I say, has anything changed in your life? Any children, marriages, right? Any job promotions? Any, did you lose a job? Because guys, things change as they get older and they may have more income, like we're just saying, where now you're able to help them add more insurance. And at that point, guys, all I do is I say, let's set up a follow-up meeting to review your policy, make sure everything is a good standing, just to make sure the best rate class possible. Who doesn't want to hear that? They always say, sure, book the meeting. Now I booked the meeting with them, guys, and all I'm doing, again, what I said, I'm making sure that everything is accurate, everything is to what they wanted to. If they need more coverage, we'll discuss it. But now I bring up that retirement aspect. Now I ask them again, what do you have that acts as a future retirement income, future retirement planning? What do you have that avoids market loss? What you guys have today that can provide you a tax-free income stream for the rest of your life. And guys, these kind of words, like when you say it, it piques interest. And all we have to do is turn intent and interest or curiosity into intent. And that's all I do, guys. And everyone should track their clients. And now a lot of you probably have Ringy, CRM Center where you can have these drips where you can literally, guys, set up your computer to say every 6 months, send out this automated message every 12 months, 8 months, and send it out and have those reviews. So I implore everybody to every 6 months, reach out to your client, do an annual review, and just ask how they're doing. Check on them. Ask if there's any changes, any grandkids, promotions. You'd be surprised how life changes. Sometimes you get a bad news. I'll be honest. I've called the client before and they said, hey, my situation's not as good. My husband's died and it's a sad situation and like they can't add anything, but at least they're thankful that you're calling, checking in on them. And at the same time that they have their first insurance policy to begin with. So guys, just reviewing policies is very, very important. And I go through my book of business, call the carrier, say, send me my book of business. Get it? Look at the effective dates, guys. The easiest way to do it, and just reach out and call. They bought insurance from you once, they'll buy it again. The average consumer buys the same item like 9 or 10 times in their life, guys. And when you can add all these puzzle pieces, they're going to be thankful that you're calling them because you're not upselling them. You're just adding more protection to their income, more protection to their family legacy. And that's how you're really able to, hit that 600, 700, 800K mark without having to go crazy on lead spend, guys. Because the biggest thing is, guys, is what Dean always says, book a meeting for a meeting. I had no idea what that said until he's like, Ron, you know what that means, right? You're from Alabama? I'm like, is that like a Bama thing? What is it? And he's like, no, it means book a meeting from a meeting. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, guys, that book a meeting for a meeting, we all met with that client the first time. It would be a veteran final expense lead, an IUL, a mortgage section. That was the first meeting. All we have to do is book that secondary meeting by having the follow up. And the follow up is by being organized, understanding your book of business. And Maurice is very good at the whole client tracker. Like she literally made me do it. Like I was like thankful to the Lord for doing that. If I didn't, I would not have my book organized. Because make sure you keep everything organized and every 6 months and 12 months, reach out. I do 6 and 12.
Absolutely, guys. You already have people who trust you. They like you. They know you care about their family. Reach out to them. They want to talk to you. Nothing's worse than when you talk to a client and they're like, yeah, I couldn't get in touch with like my last agent that I talked to 6 years ago. It's like, but their voicemail still says that they're in the insurance industry, just haven't called me back. Don't be that agent. Be the agent that is there for their family, and it will, essentially you'll reap the rewards, and so will their family. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. And when that's the case, it's a beautiful thing. So Rami, I appreciate you so much for being on with me today. Guys, thank you all for hopping on. I hope you all took away a lot away from this call. Let's make it a massive week. Guys, we're barely into March. Make this your month, make this your year, decide what you want to do and decide how you want to implement different things into your business that are going to make sense. I appreciate you all. Make it a great evening. Take care. Bye, guys.